Are you ready for high-speed motorsports talk about your local short track? You've come to the right place. Get ready to hear from some of the top stars of Seekonk Speedway right here on the Race Day Rewind podcast series. We'll hear it all, from pure excitement, the disappointment of coming so close, the frustrations of contact on the track, and the thrill of winning a race or a championship. The Seekonk Speedway podcast series is a production of Souza Media. Now let's get to the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the Seekonk Speedway podcast series here on the Race Day Rewind Report. Of course, the Action Track podcast across all of your podcast platforms, specifically right here where you're listening, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or you're watching us on YouTube, Buzzsprout. There's so many different places you can catch the Action Track podcast. No matter where you're listening, we're glad you're listening to the latest edition of the Race Day Rewind Report as we get ready to recap all the racing action from a full weekend at the Action Track of the East, which took place on Friday, June 17th, and Saturday, June 18th, as we roll into the summer months here at the Third Mile. Another great night of racing across both nights, and we are getting ready for some big-time shows on Sunday. There isn't much to recap as far as the Race Day Rewind. We did have the Monster Truck Showdown in town as well. If you caught that show, that was a great show. And if you didn't, well, we're going to have another one coming up in August. I'll get to that here over the next couple weeks. So if you missed the first Monster Truck show, don't be ashamed. Come out for the second one, and you'll be able to enjoy that as well. However, the Race Day Rewind Report is to cover the racing as part of the Rewind here on the Seekonk Speedway podcast. First segment of 3 here on this week's edition of the podcast. We're going to welcome in Brady, who's our Fast Friday co-announcer, joining Kevin Boucher in the booth. And Brady, man, another great night of Fast Friday racing. We had some weather that came in prior to the start of the night. Track had to dry, and once it was dry, once we get underway, a little bit less practice than normal. But another great night of Fast Friday here as we get into the summer, and very impressive runs for a lot of our competitors.
Well, Kyle, I think just saying great is an understatement. It was an outstanding night of racing, and we all saw you on Facebook Live working hard to clean in that track, so shout out to you and a lot of our Bandit drivers as well, getting all that squared away. But it really, really was. And I want to start things here with the Seekonk Grand Prix Bandolero Bandit Division, and Melania Shalosky getting her first win of this 2022 campaign. A really great win for this kid who finished runner-up 3 weeks in a row, only to Darren Krantz, who just happened to finish in second place. But Melania came out really aggressive. She cut off the inside for a lot of this race, and she was really smart in her strategy because we've seen in past weeks, right, Darren Krantz will cut off, get into the inside, and then once he gets there and gets a lead, he doesn't give it up. So, great job by Melania, striking early, getting on the inside. Darren made it close. He made it really, really close, but Melania able to stick it out, and she is now 4 points behind Darren for that top spot in our Bandit Championship standings.
Yeah, I mean, this was a good run for Melania. You're 100% right. I mean, she's won at Seekonk before. She's a big-time winner down at the Waterford Speed Bowl in Connecticut as well. And when you look at her career coming up from the quarter midget and the go-kart rank, she's been successful right along, and she's definitely got the speed. So a very impressive run for sure for Melania to pick up her first win of the year. Darren had a great run for second. Ryan Van Ness Jr. finishes third in this one. Good run there for him. Another podium finish for the Bottle Rocket behind the wheel of the Team V number 11. Sam Macedo fourth, and Parker Davis rounds out the top 5. Now Ryan Van Ness, not won yet this year, but podium in all but one race. So we'll see how he gets going here in the next couple weeks and see if he's able to rebound and get in victory lane. Rebound might be the wrong word. There's nothing that he's doing that's not good. It's all been positive for him, but I know he wants to win. In the Seekonk Grand Prix Bandolero Outlaws, they had another 15-lap feature, and it was Chase Sylvia picking up his third win of the year. Andrew Gomes finished second, and Joey LeMay third. Sylvia has been to victory lane in 3 out of 4 races, so a very impressive run for him in the next pit stop, the Seekonk Grand Prix Bandolero Outlaws. So Chase Sylvia, 3 wins out of 4 weeks. Andrew Gomes has been on the podium for most of them as well. Very impressive to continue to do that. He's getting closer and closer to his first career win. And Joey LeMay had a good race in this one, coming home in the 3rd position. Dylan Calabro had his best career run in the Seekonk Grand Prix Bandolero Outlaws. That was a fourth-place finish behind the wheel of the number 71. Of course, that one looks like the Jerry DeGasperi car on Saturday, so a good run for him. And the first career top 5 finish also on Friday night came for Bobby Betancourt, the third. So a top 5 finish for him in the Helger South Coast Power Equipment number 99. So a couple of new faces here at the front of the Seekonk Grand Prix Bandolero Outlaws, but all the way at the front, no new face there. It is Jay Sylvia making it 3 wins in 4 weeks behind the wheel of the number 17. The Everett's Auto Parts Sport Fours also were back on track on Friday night for round 4 of their 2022 season. And in this one, for the first time this year, Brady, Carlin Levesque comes out and picks up the win. Henry LaValle comes home second, and Crystal Murray continues her impressive start to the season with a third-place finish. Crystal's finished on the podium in every single race. But, man, Carlin Levesque here, very impressive in this one to come out, get to the lead early. He lost it on a restart racing Henry LaValle for the top spot. And he's able to rebound and get back to victory lane. Not his first career win. He's won before. But still his first win of the season and a good one for him to get out there and get the checkered flag.
Yeah, this was a dogfight, really, from start to finish. It was Carlin Levesque, Henry LaValle, Crystal Murray, really all in contention. And then even Taylor Bowser and gave Levesque a run for his money at some points in this race. But Carlin needed this win, and I know he currently sits third in our standings, but he came oh so close, a couple times earlier on this season, and this was a really solid win, I think, for Carlin. Again, he just fought all the way to the end, and then LaValle came in a really close second place. Arguably, I'd say his best race thus far, and then Crystal Murray also with a good run as well. But again, a big credit to Carlin, who, again, he's not doing anything bad, like you said, Kyle, but in what one could call a must-win race for Carlin Levesque, he won, and he delivered.
Yeah, great run for him. Henry, you mentioned. Henry's a veteran of this division, and I know it's been a lot of years since Henry's been to victory lane, but a good run for him to get up here this year and be back on the podium. He's really happy with that. And talking to him in the pit area, he's been very, very happy with the way the cars run. So Henry for second. Crystal Murray, clearly the dominant force here early in the Everett's Auto Parts Sport Force season with top 3 finishes in all of the main events. We will see if she can do that again coming up this Friday night. The rest of the top 5 in the Sport 4, Tyler Duhanchik was 4th, and Matt Peon finished 5th. There was a post-race DQ in there, so the driver that finished 4th did not get 4th place finish. Let's move on. Helger South Coast Power Equipment Pure Stock Racing on Friday night, their 4th run of the season. And in this one, it's Greg Perry taking down his second victory in the first 4 weeks as the 2-time champion of this class, really coming into his own here in the early season, which we don't normally see too much of from Greg Perry. Greg Perry is usually a second half of the season, come out, get his victories, and contend for the championship kind of guy. Not this year so far. He's been really strong right out of the gate in the number 0. And, wow, very impressive for him to take down the victory in the Pure Stocks this week. Danny Massa and Jeremy Lambert joined him on the podium. Of course, Jeremy had already been to victory lane the week prior. Danny Massa's been podium in most of the races, top 5 in most of the races. Just hasn't been able to get to victory lane yet this year behind the wheel of the number 41, but expecting him to probably get there at some point, probably pretty soon. Danny's a very tough competitor out there on the track, and a good run for him again on Friday night to get another top 5 finish. So we'll see what he can do in the next couple of weeks. Brady, the only other feature on Fast Friday was in the Nick's Pit Stop Legend cars. Brendan Hammond's got 2 wins in 4 races in this division. And now Devin Deshays also has 2 wins in 4 races in this division. Devin, driving that B&M Maintenance number 88, has really come out of the box strong. 2 victories in the first 4 weeks for him. And seems to me, Brady, like this Legend Cars division is running through Devin Deshays and Brandon Hammond. We haven't seen anybody else be able to get up there and take a victory so far in 2022.
Yeah, we've got this little pattern going on, right? With Hammond, Deshays, back to Hammond, back to Deshays. But I really didn't think it was going to be that way, at least going through the early parts of Friday's race. Isaiah Newcomb arguably had his best career finish, coming in at a podium finish this past Friday. Reese Bogue was in there as well, but it is really just a matter of time before Reese Bogue, Brandon LaBelle, Isaiah Newcomb, Mason Tessier finally break open and see themselves in victory lane this year. But Devin really came out strong after one of our what was many restarts in the Knicks Pit Stop Legends race, and again he's a very aggressive driver. Again, another one of those guys that once he gets a lead, not very likely to give it up. So a great run by Deshays as well. I want to go quickly back to the pure stocks. My thoughts are with Jim Riley. He seems to be all right after that scary um, accident he did have, but yeah, I just want to point that out. Make sure he's all right. But anyway, back to the legends. The
Yeah,
Shays. I'm not going to say he ran away with it because he didn't. But I really think, as good as he's been, this division is too good and too. Um, how do I say this? There's too many contenders to see this pattern of Hammond, Deshays. So I would not be shocked to see this Friday if we finally see Mason Tessier back, and he's Mason Tessier, right? He's had everything but good luck on his side, unfortunately this year. So it wouldn't shock me to see Mason Tessier find in victory lane this Friday. Same can be said about Reese Bogue, and I'm really excited to see if Isaiah Newcomb as well can carry this momentum from this podium finish last Friday into this Friday as well.
yeah, it's been very impressive to watch some of these legend competitors kind of grow into their own. You mentioned Reese Bogue's kind of grown into who he is today in the legend car and a successful top 5 competitor there. Wants to win, though, for sure. Isaiah Newcomb is a former youth racing champion here at Seekonk in our Seekonk Grand Prix Bandolero, so he's moved his way up to the legends after taking last year pretty much off from Seekonk. He raced at another track. They've come back this year, and he's been very good and almost won on Friday night. So Legend Cars division, you're right, definitely has a ton of positives to it, a ton of competitors, and I think there's going to be a new winner coming up on Friday night. I'll go out and make that bold prediction. And you mentioned Jim Riley, good point. Let's go back to that. Jim was involved in a real scary wreck where the throttle stuck going into turn 3, and he went head on into the wall in the turn 3 area of the racetrack. Very scary wreck. You're 100% right, and glad to see he was able to get out. There was a fire that came out of that car, and he was able to rebound and get out, and the fire got put out. And I don't expect to see Jim this week, obviously, due to the damage in the car. But, we'll see him back at some point this season. I'm sure that they will figure out a way to get themselves back to competition. They've been good for a couple years now. Jim started in our thrill shows and moved our way over to the racing nights. And, man, he's been really competitive in any division that he's jumped in. And I'm sure we'll see him back again over the course of the year. Brady, getting ready for another Fast Friday here at the end of June. We'll have a break next week. Coming up on July 1st, there will be no Fast Friday as we get ready for the Independence Day Thrill Show. But anything else we're looking at as we can move into this week, and things that are on the top of your mind here as we get ready for the final Fast Friday in June?
If somebody can take down Chase Sylvia, I mean, I know that he had that late race penalty, and Brent Robidoux found himself in victory lane in week 3. But I mean, this kid is slowly running away with this division. I understand it may not look like that when you take a look at the standings, with Andrew Gomes only being 8 points behind, or excuse me, 12 points behind. I can't do simple math, but it's really fascinating how we're seeing some of these younger kids like Sylvia and Andrew Gomes, and even in the Bandits like Grant and Shalaski. Is that going to be a two-way fight, or is Ryan Vaness going to pick up a couple wins in these next few weeks or so? And aside from all that, like, they're great racers. They're also really good and genuine kids, right? When we were cleaning the track last Friday, and I've had the chance to interview some of these kids, like, they're really humble kids. They're really good kids, and so I'm just really excited to see where they go this year.
Yeah, our Bandolero divisions obviously have continued to grow over the years, and Brady's on here now. Sam's going to join us in the next segment. I don't think they remember, they definitely don't remember back to the Mini Cup days as part of our Seekonk Youth Racing Association. But the youth racing here at Seekonk is really strong. We're averaging something like 28 Bandoleros per week, which is really impressive, and expecting to see that continue over the course of the remaining months here in the 2022 season. Hard to believe that after this coming Friday, June 24th, we will be done with the month of June, and that means we're down basically halfway through most of our season here at Seekonk Speedway. It goes real quick, and we'll see what happens as we get into the end of June, into July, and we move ever so closer to that first playoff system here at Seekonk Speedway. Thanks to Brady for joining us in the first segment of this week's edition of the Race Day Rewind. When we come back, Sam Tully joins us around the turn as we recap NASCAR Saturday racing from Saturday, June 18th, and preview the upcoming race for the Pro All-Star Series, 150 laps, coming up on June 25th. Stay with us around the break. Welcome back to the Seekonk Speedway podcast series and the Race Day Rewind report from our racing action as we wrap up the month of June. June 17th is in the books. We just talked about that in the last segment with Brady. Welcoming in Sam here to chat about our NASCAR Saturday platform on Saturday, June 18th. One race in the Everett's Auto Parts Triple Crown, the second round for the Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman, and we had the late models, the Pro Stocks, and the Chaz Auto Bodies Sport Trucks also in competition. Sam, let's start with the Sport Trucks. Win number 2 in the season for Barry Shaw Jr. It's real funny because I talked to him prior to the race, and he said to me, Kyle, things are not going my way here. We can't catch a break, da-da-da. And then, boom, Barry Shaw's back in victory lane here in the Everett's Auto Parts number 85. His second win of the year. Darrell Church and Jake Veneta join him on the podium, second and third. Mike Cavallero was fourth, and Danny Tebow finished fifth. Barry Shaw, though, Sam, 2 wins on the year. Impressive there. But how about Darrell Church? 2 consecutive podium finishes. I feel like this sport truck division continues to show that it is one of our most competitive across all of our racing, not just Saturday, but also on Friday as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to see that 4 truck of Darrell Church start to come alive. Was able to hold his own early in the 25-lap feature on Saturday. Right from the restart, or the start of the race, looked like he got jumped on by a couple of the drivers right behind him, but finally was able to settle down to the low line and hold his own up front, of course, with Mike Duarte and Amy Arsenault battling, getting together and spinning and having to go to the back. That was allowed drivers like Barry Shaw and Darrell Church to slide up into those first couple of positions in the running order, and there they would remain for pretty much the rest of the race. So really great to see Barry Shaw back in victory lane, waving the checkered, and really 2 strong races back-to-back for Darrell Church as well.
Yeah, great run for Jake Veneta coming home in third in this one, and Mike Cavallero's been impressive early this season, along with Danny Tebow getting a top 5 finish. So Sport Truck division definitely off to a good start here through the first 6 or so weeks, and expecting that to continue as we roll into the next couple of weeks. How about in the Everett's Auto Parts late model? Sam, green to checker here in this one, and it is Chase Belcher picking up his first win of the year. They've been struggling with that car over the course of the early portion of the season, but man, they got it right Saturday. Green to checker race, jumps out there, gets to the front, and pretty much drives away with it with really no contest overall, which is rare in the late model division due to the competition. But this one was pretty clean and green, and pretty sure right from the green that Chase Belcher was going to be the one to beat.
Yeah, Belcher rolled off third, I believe, to start the race. And the only real challenger there, again, for the second week in a row, Jeremy Lilly, battling tooth and nail for the lead. Of course, 2 weeks ago, it was with Paul Lallier, just getting edged out in that breathtaking finish. So this week, he was up to the task of chasing down Chase Belcher, which was really exciting to watch because, as you mentioned, it went green all the way from start to finish. So they were having to battle each other while navigate through lap traffic. And ultimately, once Chase Belcher was able to break away from Jeremy Lilly, he was able to just build on that lead. At one point, it was 2 seconds, then 3.5 seconds. So it really just goes to show what battling smoothly through lap traffic can do. And then the other thing that stuck out to me is when this late model division is forced to go green with no yellows, it doesn't give anyone else a chance to catch their breath. So it leaves guys like Jerry DeGaspari, Vinny Arnagato, Richie Murray, if they are started, middle back, it doesn't give them that chance to catch their breath and really capitalize on race restarts to make up a bunch of positions really quickly. So you had some drivers that are really strong and capable finishing down like outside the top 5, around 10th. So really interesting to see how the results shake up when you have a full green flag run in the late models.
Yeah, I think it gets tough in any of our divisions, really, when there's no cautions for some of the faster guys. And I don't want to say that in a bad way, because Chase Belcher was absolutely damn flying on Saturday. Jeremy Lilly's been flying lately as well. Josh Hedges finished in third. Roddy Burns was fourth, and Jerry DeGasperi fifth. But you wonder, it didn't work out this way. It's like wondering if my aunt, became my uncle, or if my uncle was never my uncle. You're not going to wonder these things over the course of your life. So, green to checker race. I wonder what would have happened if there was a caution, but in the end, what I wonder doesn't matter. It happened out there in the track, and that's it. And Chase Belcher becomes the sixth different winner in 6 late model races in 2022. I think that's a great point to touch on as well. So very competitive late model class this year, as always, and expecting to see another competitive race coming up this Saturday, June 25th. They are going to compete in round number 2 of their Everett's Auto Parts Triple Crown. 45 laps as the Pass Series comes to town as well. We'll get to that in a minute, but late models have got an impressive week of racing coming up as well on NASCAR Saturday. Let's move on, Sam, to our other division before we get to the Pro Stocks. The Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman, their second round of the Everett's Auto Parts Triple Crown as they get ready for their finale of the Triple Crown coming up in August. And in this one, Chad Baxter, the defending champion, finally breaks through. Myself and you, Sam, have talked a lot about how Chad kind of dominated last year. Hadn't won yet this year. Well, he changes that on Saturday, gets his car back from last year. They've been waiting to get that car back after it had a little bit of work done to it on the motor. And boom, back with that car, back to the front, back to domination. Chad beat Steve Axon and Craig Pianka, the top 3. Adam Petty was 4th, and Ryan Lynham in 5th. But, man, that's the Chad Baxter that I saw last year right there, Sam. And I know you didn't see him last year, but you've read about it. And, man, going to be hard-pressed for me to think that anybody's going to be able to top that here as this season goes along if he's able to maintain that speed in the car.
I mean, talk about flipping the script, right? Not only are we seeing a different start to the season this year than last year with Chad Baxter, but even just from week to week. I mean, you look at the June 11th racing, the results from that, of course, Baxter had to battle some mechanical gremlins, wasn't even able to turn a lap for the feature on the 11th. So finished scratch, 21 out of 21. Comes back a week later, leads from wire to wire every single lap, wins the race. So totally flipping the script, finally getting that car into victory lane. And it'll be really interesting to see if now that he has that taste of victory back and that car seems to be back, if he can get another couple of wins under his belt to make Sportsman really interesting.
Yeah, I think we got to watch the Sportsman division as well as they move on through the season. I need to figure out, and I will figure this out here over the course of the next couple weeks, we need to figure out who made the finals for the Triple Crown for the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks and the Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman. I know Chad Baxter made it since he won. I think Craig Pianka won the first Sportsman Triple Crown race. I could be wrong. It might have been Ed Perry.
Ed Perry.
So yep. Sam's going to say Ed Perry. I trust him. So let's see. We'll get that here over the next couple weeks. Of course, this Saturday I mentioned the late models have their Triple Crown finale. The second round of theirs, so they'll have another driver walk in. The Pro Stock second round of the Triple Crown will come up in July. And then, of course, August 6th is going to be a huge night. All 4 races on that Saturday night will be Triple Crown finales and extra laps, and then the same thing on the Friday as well, August 5th. So we'll get to that as we get across the summer here in the podcast and give you an update. Sam, the other feature on Saturday was an emotional moment, I think, for all of us involved. And Tom Scully Jr., 1 week after losing his father, Tom Scully Sr., comes out and wins the Pro Stock race in a real storybook moment. This is kind of the the way things should happen in life. And I know last week we didn't touch on it, but Tom Scully Sr., a longtime member of the Seekonk Speedway family, a competitor, a car owner, a fan, and passes away last week suddenly. And we had a ceremony for him back on June 11th. This time it's Tom Scully Jr. back racing, and he wins it. And, I don't have too much to say here. I think everything kind of speaks for itself with the way he was able to go out there and win. His father was definitely riding with him on this one, I could say that. And, he wills himself to victory lane. Congratulations to the whole Scully family. A rough week, obviously, given the passing of Tom Scully Sr., but he's able to go out and win. And I think winning is the best thing that they could have happen right now. They were able to celebrate. And, that's a big deal for a family that's gone through a big loss like this. So in honor of Tom Scully Sr. I think that's all we're going to say about the Pro Stock race. Check out the video on YouTube about the feature win and really watch the emotion pour out in victory lane. I don't think we can really put into words what that meant to him. And not right now, obviously, but at some point during the season, we'll get him on the podcast and have him kind of chat us through what it's been like. Tommy won the race, though. Dave Darling finished second. Tommy Adams was third. Mark Jennison fourth. And Rick Martin rounded out the top five. Sam, before I let you go, coming up this Saturday, June 25th, 45 laps, second round of the Triple Crown for the late models. The Sportsman and the Sport Trucks will have 25-lap races. And the first time Sam is going to see the Pro All-Star Series in town, they're going to be coming in for their first of two appearances this year. They will be back coming up on Wednesday, July 27th for the big $10,000 to win race, the Bay State Classic. But Sam, this is going to pin our regular Pro Stock competitors, some of them, not all of them, against the likes of Ben Rowe, Johnny Clark, Angelo Belcito, and the list goes on and on. Joey Pohl, Eddie McDonald, Wayne Helliwell. I mean, this is going to be a very competitive race. Sam's been watching some of the previous past races, or is going to watch some of them to try to get himself a little bit acclimated here, as he'll be calling this race in the booth with Kevin. But Sam, 150 laps. This is a long race, and is going to take a lot. And these guys trying to defend the home turf here, Dave Darling, Tom Scully Jr., these guys want to win and prove that Seekonk Speedway is their turf, and I think that's what makes it so exciting for me as we head into it.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely really excited to get to see the Pro All-Stars in action in person. It's been quite a while. Last time I saw them, I caught a few past races up at Thunder Road back in 2016, 2017, and of course at Thunder Road, they don't have a Pro Stock or Super Late Model weekly division, so seeing Past roll into town was a real treat. But I think we're definitely going to be in for a real treat again this weekend. 150 laps. I personally love extra distance racing. I mean, who doesn't? But it's going to be really fun to watch some of these regional guys come to town and try and of course our weekly regulars try and pit themselves against the regulars in the past. And of course, it's going to be great to see some of our locals like Orion Kuhn and Dylan Estrella, who are from East Bridgewater and North Attleboro, respectively. So, you could argue that this is their home track down here in Seekonk as well. So, I would just shout out to fans, get on down and come watch some extra distance racing, 150 laps. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, but is this our longest race of the season coming up this Saturday?
Yeah, it's going to be our longest event of the year, 150 laps. The past Pro Stocks, of course, will do that once again coming up on that Wednesday, July 27th. But yeah, longest race of the year for Seekonk Speedway, 150 laps. It's a long race. It goes by, I want to say rather quickly, in my opinion. This is not a too long of a race. It's long, but it's not too long. It isn't anything that takes forever to go by. It goes by rather quickly, especially on a 3rd mile oval. But it also puts in perspective, this idea of trying to defend the home turf, and our guys take that very seriously. I mean that. They really do. They take it very seriously, and I'm expecting guys like Dave Darling to be up there, competitive, and be at the front of the field. I think it's going to be a real heck of a show. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see any of our guys win. I also would not be surprised to see any of the past guys kick their butt. These past guys are no strangers, really, to getting to the front of the field and being competitive. So very interested to see how that one goes. Our other racing is also going to be on the track. There's a lot going on here in the next week or so at Seekonk Speedway, and I, for one, am so dang fired up about it. Friday night racing, June 24th, just $10 for adults. No excuse to not be down there watching it, especially with the way the Friday racing is going. Saturday, you got the past Pro Stocks for 150 laps. Late models, 45. You got the trucks and the Sportsman also in action. Nothing Sunday. Wednesday, June 29th, one of our first of 3 Wednesday shows of the year. This is going to be the Open Wheel Wednesday for the Tri-Track Modified Series. 100 laps, $10,000 to win. Heck of a show that's going to be. Love that show with the Smack Super Modifieds and the NEMA Lights also in there. And then if you're into fireworks and crashes and smashes, coming up on the July 4th Thrill Show, that's going to be on July 2nd. You can check that out as well. this is going to be a heck of a week or so, and really excited to see how it shakes out. And if you're not going to be down at the track, shame on you. I told you before on this podcast, I'm going to tell you exactly how it is. Shame on you. Come down and watch the racing. If you're a real race fan, this is the racing you want to see right here in your backyard. There is no dang doubt about it. That's all I got from this segment. Thanks to Sam for joining us and recapping the NASCAR racing from Saturday night, June 18th. When we come back, a driver guest helps us join the show. I'll keep it a secret on who it is. Stick with us around the break, and you can listen to it with us as we wrap this week's edition of the Seekonk Speedway Action Track Podcast and the Race Day Rewind Report. All right, welcome back. Final segment of this week's edition of the Seekonk Speedway Action Track Podcast and the Race Day Rewind Report. Thanks to Brady and Sam Tully for joining us on the first two segments to talk about our Fast Friday and NASCAR Saturday racing from last weekend. Before we move on and kind of talk about what's coming up on this coming weekend in a more in-depth fashion as we roll towards next week, we're going to welcome in a driver guest for the first time in a little bit here on the Seekonk Speedway podcast series, and he's a one-time winner so far this year already in the Seekonk Grand Prix Bandoleros. He competes in the Outlaw division. He's had a little bit of an up-and-down year considering he won a race. I don't think it's all gone the way he wanted, but Brent Robidoux is now joining us here on the podcast. And Brent, a lot of emotions, I think, so far this year. You picked up a win a couple weeks back, so you had a good, strong running there to be able to get out there and get the checkered flag, but you've had a couple failures in the car. You know, things haven't gone your way at times. How difficult has this been to kind of ride this up and down wave of momentum here as we started off 2022?
Yeah, it's just been a bunch of up and downs. We've been really good, and a few times we just had not that good of luck. But I think as the season goes on, our luck is gonna come back to us.
Well, the luck is a big factor, especially in these Bandoleros. If you've never seen a Bandolero race, these cars they seem pretty dang out of control. Brent, tell us, though, how difficult are these things to drive? I mean, you guys have had the chance to travel a little bit this year as well on non-Friday night races. So Brent's run all of our Friday night shows, but he's been to a couple other tracks as well this year on the weekends, maybe on a Saturday or Sunday. How difficult are these cars to drive anywhere? I mean, they really seem really tough at Seekonk given all the bumps and everything, but are they that hard, maybe as hard as they look from the stands?
I mean, it kind of depends on how you race and where you race. Like at Tri Seekonk, it's very aggressive because all the bumps and it's really tense. But if you go to a different track like Star Speedway, it's a little bit, it's just about as rough as Seekonk, but it's a different how to handle, because with different tracks like Hudson Speedway and Claremont Motorsports Park, you have to on and off the gas, where unlike Seekonk where you're wide open.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, he's been wide open so far this year, getting himself, as I mentioned, to victory lane one time. Obviously, you guys have been fast, and you mentioned luck is obviously a big part of this. But how tough do you think this division is? I mean, Chase Sylvia's got 3 wins so far this year. I know a lot of you guys talk to each other off the track, so you're more friends than you are competitors at sometimes. But it seems like it's really hard this year in this division to go out there and try to do this on a consistent basis. I mean, you picked up 1 win so far, but really nobody has been able to, other than Chase, I guess, been able to go out there and do it consistently and win every week here in a while. It seems really tough to be able to do that in this division.
Yeah, it's really hard in these type of cars, at least for me, to stay really consistent. And yeah, just really hard to stay consistent.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's 100% understandable. Now, in the preseason here on the Action Track podcast, we had those preview series editions, and I kind of picked a championship favorite in our Friday divisions. I can't remember if I did it on Saturday or not. So there's this playoff thing going on here, Brent, this year, and you're off to a decent start. You're 4th in the points. You need to make the top 6 to be in the playoff scenario. On Saturday and the other Friday divisions, it's 8 cars, but in the Bandoleros, it's only going to be 6. How confident you feeling you're going to make me look here as we get to September? You feeling like I'm going to be right? Because I hope so. I feeling like I've made a pretty good pick here. What do you think?
I think your pick is correct. Like, I know it's gonna be my main target is just to get into the just to figure out this playoff system and just get in and be in that final four when it comes down to the last race of the season, and hopefully come out with the championship.
Yeah, it's going to be stressful, I think, for the drivers. And some of these kids have put the pressure on me, Brent included here, because of the picks I made, that I better be right. I don't know. I'm going to be interested to see how these kids fare in the second half of the year. And I've actually gotten some slack from some of the drivers on the other Friday divisions that I picked. And I guess I'm going to call them the adult divisions. Of course, our Bandolero division's drivers between 8 and 16. Some of the adults that I picked or didn't pick, for a better term, have been slacking on me that I didn't pick them. So we'll see how it shakes out here. Hopefully I'm right. If not, then hey, I did the best I could. Brent, you got a lot of people that help you out. I know your dad works really hard. You guys, of course, your brother's racing now too. And you guys are in 2 separate divisions. Your dad has had to put the cars back together a few times. I've seen that on Facebook. Your mom does a good job of updating us all via her Facebook. But who are some of the people you have to thank here as we appreciate having you on as we get to the end of June? Who are the people that are helping Brent Robidoux go out there and race every week?
First of all, I gotta, like you said, I gotta give a big shout out to my dad. He helps me and my brother out a lot to make sure we get out of the racetrack every week, and helps us every race day. I also got to thank my mom, my brother, just my family in general. I also got to give a big shout out to Propane Plus. They help us a lot. I also got to thank Argos Office Power Equipment. Everyone there is really good to us. And 10x6.
Wow, so a good group of supporters here for Brent, and he thanked his dad as well. So I know we're a week late from the Father's Day. Chase Sylvia won last week, and of course his dad is Pepe. But I know Brent's going to be trying to win for his dad maybe a week late on Father's Day. That's quite okay. I'm sure your dad will be real happy if you won, even if it's a week late, and you could celebrate Father's Day at least a little bit later of Father's Day in Victory Lane. So, Brent, we appreciate the time, and we'll see you at the track, and we wish you good luck the rest of the year. Maybe we'll chat with you again here after another win as we get closer to the end of the year.
Thank you.
All right, that's been Brent Robidoux, and with that is going to do it for this week's edition of the Seekonk Speedway Race Day Rewind Report. Want to thank everybody for listening. Want to thank Sam Tully and Brady Couto for joining us here on this week's edition of the podcast, and Brent Robidoux, our specialty driver guest from the Seekonk Grand Prix Bandolero Outlaws. You can check out my personal Facebook feed, Kyle Souza, Souza on Facebook. We had to dry the track last Friday night, and most of the Bandolero kids joined me out there. Bryson, Brent's brother, was really the only one that used the broom to move the water often, though everybody touched it a little bit. It was really a fun night at the track. Check that out, and again, appreciate Brent for joining us, and always great insight from him on how things are going as he moves through his 2022 season. That'll do it for now. Remember, you can buy your tickets at SeekonkSpeedway.com, and we look forward to seeing you at the track as we roll into the summer here at the Action Track of the East.